America's greatest actresses.
A true inspiration to myself and many other young actors.
She knows how to be strong, but without making other people weak.
Whether on stage, film, or screen, Susan Sarandon wears her passions on her sleeve.
Wars are to be avoided and entered into only when absolutely necessary.
The love of my life, my inspiration. Susan, I love you.
Everyone was shocked when Susan and Tim split up.
Susan is just one of those ladies who knows the course of life and has such a great heart about it.
Susan was always game. It was about, let's see what life has to offer.
Actress Susan Sarandon challenges every expectation of what a woman her age should be.
She's sexually insatiable, and I know that the men will identify with that.
An extremely busy Academy Award winner who prides herself on playing smart and sexy older women.
She played her first grandmother in Lovely Bones and was the sexiest grandmother you've ever seen.
In 2010, Sarandon was nominated for an Emmy for You Don't Know Jack, playing a close friend of right-to-death advocate Dr. Jack Kevorkian.
When you have bad hair, everyone thinks you're acting up a storm.
She also appeared in Wall Street 2, The Money Never Sleeps. But Susan's personal life grabbed headlines in 2010 after she and actor Tim Robbins ended their 23-year relationship.
I had asked her, "Do you think you're going to be with Tim forever?" And I was really expecting a romantic answer. And when she said curtly, "I have no idea," I knew there was something wrong.
It coincided with the last of Susan's 3 children leaving home and the start of a new chapter in her life.
So she's looking for new things, other dimensions of her own personality. She called it repatterning herself.
Maybe following none of the rules, I've managed to kind of slide in through the cracks. I don't know. I've done everything wrong, so I guess I'm just lucky.
For most of her life, Susan's #1 priority has been family. She was born Susan Abigail Tomlin on October 4th, 1946, at Lenox Hill Hospital in New York City, the eldest child of Lenora and Philip Tomlin. Susan arrived in an era of post-World War II optimism. American soldiers were returning to their families and the promise of new prosperity. Susan's father embarked on a career as a director and producer in the new world of live television. He settled his family in the respectable suburb of Edison, New Jersey.
You know, full-scale middle class, just middle America. You know, 1-car garages. If you had a 2-car garage, you were a big deal.
Guided by traditional family values and her deep Catholic faith, Lenora became a full-time mother. As the oldest child, Susan helped care for the growing family, becoming a second mom to her 8 younger brothers and sisters.
I think Susan's been very maternal to everybody in the family. Being the oldest child, she's looked after everybody and provided guidance to everybody at some time in their life.
She didn't want anyone to look bad. She wants to make sure everyone gets their shot.
Susan was also a natural leader, especially during family gatherings, which included performing in homegrown shows.
She was the director of the Tomlin family pageants and plays. My father had a real flair for the dramatic. He missed his calling in life. He should have been an actor. I'm sure that she gets her flair for the dramatic from my father's side.
As a teenager, Susan began rebelling against her strict Catholic education. She fought to attend the local public Edison High School, and her parents finally relented. Susan responded well to her new, more liberal environment. She participated in both high school theater and cheerleading. Public school also exposed the 16-year-old to new ideas, which sometimes caused friction at home.
If Susan's at the left of the political spectrum, my mother's to the right of the political spectrum, they definitely talk about issues. And they don't always see eye to eye, but you got 2 smart people who disagree, and they're both strong-willed people, and as a result, it's lively.
In 1964, the high school graduate was eager to leave the Tomlins' conservative home and strike out on her own. But Susan didn't run far. the 18-year-old moved in with her maternal grandparents in Washington, D.C. because funds were tight, and enrolled as a liberal arts major at the Catholic University of America. In no time, she fell for 24-year-old theater student Chris Sarandon. He exposed her to a whole new world of poetry, literature, theater, and romance.
She was a freshman undergraduate, I was a first-year graduate student, and we just sort of hit it off right away. She was living with her grandparents in a rather gothic old house just down the road from Catholic U. Her grandfather was Sicilian, and almost invariably there was always opera playing, but grand opera, and played at a very loud volume. It was rather colorful, let's put it that way.
In the 1960s, the Vietnam War polarized the political opinions of American college students. Susan was no exception. Inspired by the events of the day, the young student was active in campus politics and turned to the theater department for its freedom of expression. Susan also began questioning the Catholic Church, which now seemed too rigid for her free spirit.
She learned to know the difference between being spiritual and being religious, and she kept the spiritual aspects of what it had to offer and discarded the religious dogma.
Susan's growing independence led to her decision to move in with Chris Sarandon, but the couple kept their living situation a secret.
As I recall, we were pretty surreptitious about the fact that she was staying over because she told her grandparents that she was staying with friends, and so we were pretty clandestine about it. I think I probably would have, in Sicily, had my head cut off if they'd found out. Thank God they didn't find out, and ultimately we became engaged and got married, and then everything was okay.
Susan and Chris planned a special ceremony and were married in 1967.
So we basically kind of canvassed our friends, and we did a kind of BYO wedding. Everybody brought their own booze. We had the reception at the Olney Theater, which is one of the theaters that Catholic U ran in the summertime, and it was a real sort of celebration with us and our friends, and in a way it was great because we didn't have to worry about what the parents wanted.
Susan graduated from college in 1968, but she had yet to decide on a direction for her future.
I don't recall talking about it to the extent that we said, well, here's the plan. We both knew that she was interested in theater and in acting. But how to go about it was another matter.
But Chris Sarandon was determined to pursue an acting career. He and his young wife moved to New York City, not far from Susan's parents. The couple wasn't ready to start a family, but Susan found other ways to express her nurturing instincts.
She started picking up stray cats. We got a cat in our first New York apartment. And then we moved to the country fairly soon after that, and before I knew it, we had 6 or 7 cats. But that was the first sort of inkling that I had. There's a deeply caring and someone who has a very strong feeling about the downtrodden.
In September 1970, Susan's life took a dramatic turn when Chris asked her to help him prepare an important audition for an agent.
Susan and I worked up a couple of scenes together. We went in, we did the scenes, and they signed us both. And that's really how her career started. Not that I take any responsibility for it, because, quite frankly, it would have happened one way or another.
The 24-year-old novice was quickly cast in a low-budget feature called Joe, which required her to appear nude and featured drug abuse.
I do know that her mom was not pleased. Her dad was much more liberal-minded. You know, the big sort of question mark when Susan was talking about doing it was that there was some partial nudity involved. And my recollection is that she insisted that either it be a completely closed set or that everybody else take off their clothes. It was the beginning of her emergence as a film actress.
Susan portrayed a rebellious teen whose boyfriend is killed by her conservative father.
I heard you, Daddy. You killed Frank. I loved him. I loved him.
Listen! You've got to listen to me.
Are you gonna kill me too?
Hailed by critics as the Easy Rider of 1970, Joe was a surprise hit. For Susan, Joe opened the door to everything from modest theater productions to television commercials.
Hey, check the athlete. Dummy, she's an hour after hour lady.
Try 5 miles a day of housework and kids. You'd need hour after hour to help you stay dry.
I must walk that much.
Oh, well then try hour after hour double dry. Got a special formula that fights wetness mile after mile.
She did television commercials, she did soap operas, she did bit parts on sitcoms. You know, everybody looks at her as this famous movie star, but she spent many a year struggling to pay bills and to make it, and it just didn't come overnight.
In 1972, Susan made her Broadway debut in An Evening with Richard Nixon, written by Gore Vidal. She had several roles in the play, which received bomb threats for its satiric attack of the U.S. president.
My last play was her first play on Broadway. She played about 5 different parts. She was wonderful at every single one.
Gore Vidal became one of many artists, writers, and intellectuals in Susan's circle of lifelong friends. By 1973, she had come a long way from her sheltered childhood in Edison, New Jersey. And soon, her life would veer further into uncharted territory.
I don't think she really loves the idea of marriage. She doesn't really believe in it as an institution.
And at some point, I couldn't help her through it because my interest was, at the time, keeping the marriage together.
In 1974, Susan Sarandon, the East Coast Catholic schoolgirl with no formal acting training, was about to catch a big break. Legendary director Billy Wilder cast her in his remake of the comedy, The Front Page.
Flash, exclusive. Here's Front Page News. Jack Lemmon and Walter Matthau in the Comedy School of the Year. The Front Page.
Who's that?
It's me, Peggy.
Peggy who? I didn't forget the taxi downstairs.
Well, you might be interested to know the cab driver just proposed to me. And as soon as the meter hits $10, I'm accepting.
In 1975, Sarandon's career took another giant leap when she played the romantic ingenue opposite Robert Redford in The Great Waldo Pepper.
Faster!
Waldo!
Not now!
Waldo!
I got it!
They were the best of a precious few.
Help me, somebody, please help me! Help me!
The attention Susan received as Redford's aerial ace sidekick made her hungry for riskier, more challenging roles. In 1975, the actress agreed to co-star in an outrageous movie musical, The Rocky Horror Picture Show. Based on a rock musical stage play, the film is a gender-bending parody of B-horror and sci-fi classics.
Brad, please, let's get out of here.
Just a moment, Janet. We don't want to interfere with their celebrations.
This isn't the Junior Chamber of Commerce, Brad.
As Janet, a straight-laced virgin thrown into a seedy sexual nightmare, Susan spoofed the ingenue roles she kept getting in Hollywood.
You must be awfully proud of him, Janet.
Well, yes, I am.
Do you have any tattoos, Brad?
Certainly not.
Oh, well. How about you?
Thankfully, we got Susan on board that played completely seriously, which is the only way to play it.
Oh, if only we hadn't made this journey. If only the car hadn't broken down. Oh, if only we were amongst friends or sane persons. Oh, Brad.
To her credit, she has been prepared to take roles that perhaps with the wrong agent and the wrong advice, she might have been asked to turn down. This isn't going to do your career any good, honey.
Doing the Rocky Horror Show for me was a major attempt at freeing myself from the ego that was keeping me from even humming out loud. I was just traumatized by the idea of singing. I could take off my clothes easier than I could sing.
Touch me. I wanna be dirty. Throw me, chill me, fulfill me. Creature of the night.
It didn't do any business. A year later, this strange midnight shows starting to pop up all over the place.
Shot for only $1.2 million, Rocky Horror would eventually become a cult classic and the longest-running film in motion picture history. But shooting the film was tough on 29-year-old Susan. Exhausted, she came down with pneumonia from the cold, damp set. her weight plummeted to a frightening 85 pounds. During her illness, Susan started to question her choices in life and spiraled into a serious depression.
She was questioning any number of things about who she was and what she wanted out of her life. Do I want to have a stable relationship in a house in the country, or do I need to stretch my wings a little bit? And I think in a way she never had a chance to do that.
Susan had leapt straight from her sheltered Catholic family into marriage and a fast-paced career. She now longed for a taste of freedom.
And at some point I couldn't help her through it because my interest was at the time keeping the marriage together. And so we decided that we would take some time off. Suddenly a year has gone by, or 2 years has gone by, and you're leading another life.
People grow apart, and I know that it was an amicable split up, and they were, you know, friends afterwards.
In fact, when Susan moved out, I helped her move into her new apartment. There was always a sense of that whatever the issues were between us, that ultimately there was a very strong friendship there.
On her own for the first time, Sarandon ignored conventional career strategy and followed her own edgier instincts. Over the next 3 years, she starred in 5 films, including The Other Side of Midnight and King of the Gypsies. None was a commercial hit.
She's career-minded in the sense that you won't see her do something just for money. I think she's had many opportunities to sell out, and she's, you know, I mean, how much money do you need?
In 1978, Susan met French director Louis Malle. He offered her the lead in his controversial drama, Pretty Baby, featuring 12-year-old model Brooke Shields. Susan played her mother, a prostitute raising the precocious girl in a New Orleans brothel. Nudity was required of both Sarandon and Shields. But even before the film's release, conservative citizens groups labeled it pornographic.
The movie was in no way, I think, gratuitous nor exploitative as far as the subject matter was concerned. It was about this particular milieu, this particular world, and how it actually existed.
The storm of controversy grew once Pretty Baby was released. Censors threatened the picture with an X rating and banned screenings from some theaters. Yet the public took notice of Susan's compelling, sophisticated eroticism. Hollywood was eager to capitalize on this new sex symbol, and Sarandon found herself turning down a succession of prostitute roles. After Pretty Baby, Susan began an intense affair with Louis Malle, splitting her time between Paris and New York.
She told me that when she first started a relationship with Louis Malle, the whole pattern of that relationship was set in the first 2 weeks. She took care of him. He was the director. He made choices. He had authority. She was the one that facilitated, and she couldn't break the pattern.
Besides their personal relationship, the couple continued a successful creative collaboration. In 1980, Malle cast Sarandon in Atlantic City with Burt Lancaster, and once again, she smoldered on screen. Her performance was acknowledged with her very first Best Actress Oscar nomination. Now 34, she hoped it would lead to significant opportunities in Hollywood. But her next roles failed to continue the momentum set by Atlantic City. So instead, Susan returned to Broadway. She invested and starred in a play about female liberation called A Couple of White Chicks Sitting Around Talking, opposite Eileen Brennan. The production won rave reviews. But the time apart took its toll on Susan's 2-year relationship with Louis Malle, and they came to a painful end.
I don't think that she felt fully appreciated by Louis. The French have a very different view of how to juggle their lives in regards to their love life, and I think that was frustrating for her.
In September of 1980, Louis Malle married American actress Candice Bergen. At age 34, Susan's personal and professional partnership with Malle was over. She once again was on her own. Despite her film successes in the 1970s and 1980, Susan Sarandon's focus was on theater in 1982. She received acclaim for her performance in the off-Broadway drama Extremities, playing a rape victim who turns the tables on her attacker. But the intense physical and emotional demands of the role left Susan with sprained fingers, fractured wrists, and recurring nightmares. Sarandon's passion for her craft was matched by her commitment to a growing number of political causes. The actress jumped at the chance to join a group providing aid to mothers and children in Nicaragua.
She cares about people, most of all, and just regular people. So when we were funding an illegal war in Nicaragua, she was involved with a group called Madre that was taking baby food to mothers in Nicaragua, and she went and did that.
I mean, Susan went as a woman and a citizen and a person with views and concerns, but she also was the most highly visible person and the first to go to Nicaragua of her peer group.
The devastation Susan witnessed every day horrified her. It was heart-wrenching to visit bombed-out daycare centers where children played in abandoned army tanks.
Sometimes it's just whether or not you feel you have any choice at all. I mean, I do a lot of the things I do because I really feel I have to. It doesn't mean that I'm not frightened by them, but when presented with another alternative, there is no choice really. And I guess that's just how you come into the world. It's just who you are.
Susan would come forward and give a voice to those who don't have a voice, and that really moved me. I was very cynical about stars, very. And really working with Susan changed my whole view.
By age 38, Susan was at a crossroad in life. She'd starred in nearly 20 films, but challenging roles were still hard to come by. And now she faced stiff competition from younger actresses. It's no surprise then that Susan jumped at the chance to work outside Hollywood. London, 1982. Susan was on location shooting a low-budget feature called The Hunger with Catherine Deneuve and David Bowie. During filming, she experienced health problems. Doctors diagnosed her with severe endometriosis and told her she could never have children, so she stopped taking birth control pills. In 1984, the actress headed to Italy to star in a TV movie called Mussolini, The Decline and Fall of Il Duce. While filming in Rome, she began a passionate affair with 25-year-old Italian assistant director Franco Amuri. Months later, 38-year-old Sarandon was shocked to discover she was pregnant.
Because she was sure that it would never happen. And extremely grateful, I think, and that was the sort of overriding emotion.
In April 1985, Susan gave birth to a daughter, Eva Livia Amuri. The first-time mother chose to take a break from acting and be with her new daughter.
She's sort of like a general. She goes into battle, and motherhood was going to be the great battle of her life. She was going to pull this one off. And I think that's quite remarkable. Had she done it all when she was 21, 2, 3, it wouldn't be so special. But later in life it is, and that was a great choice.
My feeling is that it gave her much more a sense of perspective about, especially this business, which can be a little cockeyed.
Susan's first role after her extended maternity leave was in The Witches of Eastwick. But after a grueling experience on that film, Susan's faith in Hollywood was seriously shaken. In 1986, a new script would change her mind. Bull Durham was a smart, sexy film set in the world of minor league baseball. Susan knew she'd have to fight to win the strong female lead. The former Oscar nominee was asked to audition for the producers, who felt that at 40, she was too old for the seductive role. To change their minds, the savvy actress arrived at MGM wearing a skin-tight red and white striped dress.
She looked pretty great when she came in the door. I think she had these striped things on. I don't know what it was, but she did exactly what any great actress, and why she is great, would do, which was she wasn't going to be given the part and she was going to come read for it.
Tell her if she's too old or not sexy enough for something, well, she knows perfectly well what can be done with lighting and makeup and what you play. And sexy is something she knows how to do.
Susan is so sexy because she's absolutely fearless. I think that comes across as a very exciting charisma. She's like, bring it on.
A few months later, Susan was in front of the cameras as the steamy baseball fan Annie.
But I still think you should leave.
Okay, well, this is the damnedest season I've ever seen. I mean, the Durham Bulls can't lose and I can't get laid.
As really the woman in our movie, she was surrounded by a bunch of guys and made everybody feel comfortable immediately. Made everybody on the set feel like they had a chance. with her when no one did. She just has that kind of quality.
Co-starring with Susan was newcomer Tim Robbins. Their on-screen chemistry was undeniable.
I give up. Come on, let's go inside and make love and fall asleep until it's time to go to the ballpark.
Or we could just take all that sexual energy and kind of hold on to it for a few hours and then rechannel it into your pitching tonight.
Bull Durham was a huge success, catapulting Susan into the top tier of bankable female stars. And life mirrored art when the 41-year-old Sarandon and 29-year-old Tim Robbins fell in love. Hollywood tongues were soon wagging at the 12-year gap between Susan and Tim.
And over the years, I met various gentlemen callers, and I said they all keep getting younger. Now, Susan, I don't want to see you arrested, you know, but then she comes up with somebody 14 years old. She said, this is Tim Robbins. I said, you're going to go to jail on this one.
I'm much younger than he is most of the time. That's why I liked him. He was very strong. I think that depending on one's life experience and depending on one's heart and one's appetites, that's really what it's about.
Susan and Tim decided not to marry, but set up house together in New York City along with her daughter Eva. The three became a family.
I think there are a lot of people in my generation and Susan's generation for whom, in most respects, marriage is not the most important thing. It's the commitment that's important.
In 1989, Susan Sarandon was delighted to learn she was pregnant a second time. She and Tim Robbins looked forward to the birth of their first child together. With Tim Robbins by her side, Susan spoke at a rally sponsored by the National Abortion Rights Action League. The actress believed her pro-choice message was more powerful coming from a pregnant woman.
Few decisions are more personal and intimate, more properly private, or more basic to individual dignity and autonomy than a woman's decision, with the guidance of her position and within the limits specified in Roe, whether to end her pregnancy. A woman's right to make that choice freely is fundamental.
Later that year, the couple welcomed the birth of son Jack Henry.
She loves her kids, you know, and she's with her kids. She's there with them, and she pays a lot of attention to each one and what their needs are and what their development is. And she loves being a mom. She loves it.
The bold star chose again to take time off to be with her newborn. Susan was fully aware that another absence could destroy the career momentum she'd worked so hard to achieve.
There's always the sense in anybody's life that if you take time out and you've got momentum, that things are going to change. But one has to have the confidence, and I think that's probably what is the case with Susan, that if it was there when you left, it'll be there when you get back. And that there are more important things in life than the next movie.
Returning to work after her second maternity leave, Susan made 4 films in 2 years, including The January Man and White Palace. None approached the success of Bull Durham. But in 1990, an unconventional script about 2 women on the run caught her eye. Thelma and Louise provided the kind of offbeat role Susan craved.
Place your hands in plain view. Any failure to obey that command will be considered an act of aggression.
Let's not get caught. What are you talking about? Let's keep going. What do you mean? Go. You sure? Yeah. Get it.
It was such an incredible film. It was so gutsy. It was so surprising, unpredictable.
She has taken on roles that are so strong, they don't require age. Thelma and Louise, they could be any age, you know. They could be
two 50-year-olds, they could be two 20-year-olds, they could be anything.
Thelma and Louise was a huge box office hit. Susan and Gina Davis each received Academy Award nominations, and Sarandon was suddenly flooded with offers. A third Oscar nomination followed the very next year, when Susan played a mother fighting for her son's life in the touching drama Lorenzo's Oil. Susan had successfully challenged Hollywood's disinterest in aging women, as no actress had done before.
She's not insecure about aging. She's not insecure about what she looks like, and there's something very sexy about that.
I don't know what the hell anybody else is looking at, but when I look at her, you know, I see all woman, I see all femininity.
People get something from her, you know, from her eyes, from her energy, the way she smiles. There's a whole lot happening there. And that's why she gets more beautiful the older she gets, you know.
Susan, together with Tim Robbins, was now a Hollywood A-lister, even though they made their home in New York. After Bull Durham, Tim had starred in Robert Altman's The Player and made his directorial debut with Bob Roberts.
They seemed very right for each other, their politics, their passions.
In 1992, they welcomed yet another addition to their family, son Miles Guthrie. At age 45, Susan once again took a break from acting to spend time with her third child.
Susan doesn't ever feel pressured to work. She works when she wants to and when she can, and she makes sure that her family is taken into consideration first.
I do it so ineptly. I am so overwhelmed all the time. You know, I haven't finished a conversation in my house in about 7 years, but I realize when I start to clutch that I would rather have too much life and be so blessed and have so many choices and so much logistics. My kids are healthy and happy, and you know, I have a good man, so you know, the rest of it is just, you have to kind of just let it go and say, well, all right, the refrigerator hasn't been defrosted in 2 years, I guess it's okay.
Between family commitments in the 1990s, Tim and Susan used their celebrity status for social causes, including a march on Capitol Hill to protest the Gulf War.
We marched together during the Gulf War. And they were very brave because a lot of people were not taking positions at that time. They're terrific together. They have great energy together.
At the 1993 Academy Awards, the couple made an appeal on behalf of detained HIV-positive Haitian refugees. Their speech drew strong reactions from both the Hollywood establishment and an estimated 1 billion viewers around the world. As a result, Sarandon and Robbins were banned from the Oscars for a year, and their political message caused heated debate in the media.
Producer of the Oscars show, Gil Cates, was outraged. Quote, "These people are invited as presenters, and it just seems to be dishonest to accept an invitation and use it for something else." Where do you come down on this issue? Were the stars basically right or wrong?
I wish they would keep their politics
That's
to
wrong
themselves.
thing?
And these folks, John, they're doing just what you do, John. When they get the stage, they use it.
I didn't think it was like a right place for it, but who am I? I don't know. You know, they did, and that's the strength of their character as a team. They're fearless.
In some Hollywood circles, Susan and Tim were becoming role models.
I'd known her as an activist, obviously, through all the publicity that was given after, you know, the Academy Awards, and I'd read about her being, you know, arrested a few times and things like that. And I just thought it was great because she's someone who clearly cares so much about so many different things.
The controversy faded, and in 1995, Susan received yet another Oscar nomination for her performance in The Client, based on John Grisham's blockbuster novel. But the following year, Susan's activism, career, and family combined for the first time. The result was the film Dead Man Walking. Based on the life of Sister Helen Prejean, a nun who counseled death row inmates, the story explored her relationship with a convicted killer during his last days.
People have very strong opinions about the death penalty. And once again, I think is an example of how she has been willing to, in a way, put her money where her mouth is.
Tim Robbins wrote and directed the film. Susan played Sister Helen opposite Sean Penn as Matthew Poncelet. But tensions rose on the set when the couple clashed over creative differences.
We fight hard and specifically, but I think that if we knew if we could come through it full strength that we would make a better picture, and so that's what we tried to do.
Tim's a great artist, Susan's a great artist. The combination is just potent. They produce beautiful things together.
There are spaces of sorrow only God can touch. You did a terrible thing, man, a terrible thing. But you have a dignity now. Nobody can take that from you. You are a son of God, Matthew.
Nobody ever called me no son of God before. Call me a son of you-know-what a lot of times. Never no son of God. Thank you for loving me.
Dead Man Walking was more than a labor of love. The film was box office magic. And in 1996, the pair's gutsy collaboration was acknowledged by their peers. Robbins was nominated for Best Director, and for the 5th time, Susan was nominated for her lead performance.
And the Oscar goes to Susan Sarandon in Dead Man Walking.
After 26 years in the business and 42 films to her credit, Sarandon's talent was recognized with an Academy Award.
Oh, my. Thank you, members of the Academy, for including me in the fine presence of these other great actors, and for giving me this opportunity to thank people that are so dear to my heart for making this happen. To my kids, Eva, Jack Henry, and Miles, thanks for being such good sports and who were in the movie and did a great job. And finally, to my partner in crime and in all things of the heart, the writer, the producer, the director, the spirit, Tim Robbins. You kept us on track. You fought so hard. Thank God for your stubbornness. Thank God for everything about you. We would not have had anything without you. This is yours as much as mine. Thank God we live together. May all of us find in our hearts and in our homes and in our world a way to non-violently end violence and heal. Thank you.
In 1996, Susan Sarandon achieved a mythic Hollywood status, an actress at the height of her career at age 50 and a working mother.
She's over 50? Oh man, I didn't know that.
Yet the nature of Susan's roles had begun to shift. Instead of romantic leads, she was now being offered mother roles, though these mothers were far from conventional.
She saw the roles as just people that were doing interesting things, experiencing interesting or sometimes tragic emotions, and she was happy to throw herself into that.
In 1998, she co-starred in Stepmom with Julia Roberts, and along with Roberts, served as co-executive producer. The next year, the busy actress joined forces with director Wayne Wang for the film Anywhere But Here, playing Natalie Portman's mother.
When you were 4 years old, your father left you just in the middle of the night.
So what? You left my stepfather in the middle of the afternoon. I miss Ted.
Nobody misses Ted. He's boring.
And why'd you marry him?
That's none of your business. Besides, he was running around with other women.
That's not true. You made that up. You wanted him to so you could catch him and take him to court and get all of his money.
You little snoop.
And Ted is not a homosexual.
I never said that.
Yes, you did.
Oh, no, I did not.
Oh, yes,
maybe I
you
inserted, but
did.
I never said it. Light in the loafers is not exactly the same thing.
I was so lucky to have that experience, especially to have a female actress who's such a great role model, too. I mean, besides just being a fun person to hang out with.
Ladies and gentlemen, Susan Sarandon, ladies and gentlemen.
In 1999, Susan's career was immortalized when she placed her handprints in cement at Grauman's Chinese Theater.
It's incredibly exciting to honor a true inspiration to myself and many other young actors.
And Premiere Magazine honored her as one of Hollywood's Women of the Year.
Maybe following none of the rules, I've managed to kind of slide in through the cracks. I don't know. I've done everything wrong, so I guess I'm just lucky.
Actress Susan Sarandon headlined the protesters arrested today at police headquarters.
In 1999, Susan also protested the killing of an unarmed African street vendor by 4 white New York City policemen. She was one of many demonstrators arrested.
Susan said that she felt it was very important as a voter and a taxpayer and a citizen to exercise the right of civil disobedience, and that she was going to explain to her children exactly what that meant.
That year, Susan was named a Goodwill Ambassador by UNICEF and given the responsibility of illuminating problems threatening children's lives worldwide. By 2010, she had also become an ambassador for the United Nations Food and Agriculture Organization.
She does a lot because there's a lot to do, you know, and she just is not one who will shy away from what there is to do.
In 2001, Susan was busy shooting a trifecta of unconventional mothers. There was Igby Goes Down.
Oh, the character was just so bad. I knew she'd be fun to do.
And Moonlight Mile, in which she co-starred with Dustin Hoffman as idiosyncratic parents grieving for their daughter. In The Banger Sisters, with Goldie Hawn, Susan played the ex-roadie mother of her then 15-year-old daughter, Eva Amuri.
You ran a red light, honey.
Yeah, right. As if I'd do that on a test?
More film and TV roles would ensue for Eva, who followed her mother into the family business. Then, on 9/11, Susan and her family were shaken, like millions of other New Yorkers. When the U.S. subsequently invaded Iraq, Susan and Tim publicly questioned the decision.
Wars are to be avoided and entered into only when absolutely necessary.
The inevitable backlash came later in 2003, when the president of the U.S. Baseball Hall of Fame canceled the 15th anniversary celebration of the film Bull Durham because of Susan and Tim's anti-war statements. Some Hollywood stars came to their defense, among them Clint Eastwood and Kevin Costner.
She's a citizen of this country and a citizen of the world, and she's entitled to say something. I don't think she uses her platform in a way that's vulgar or trite.
Within a week, the Baseball Hall of Fame president apologized to Susan and Tim. And in May 2003, New York's Lincoln Center hosted an all-star gala honoring Susan as a film legend.
I think she's one of America's greatest actresses.
For her, it's about pushing boundaries, not accepting limitations and trying to fit in. It's about not fitting in.
I think she's brave enough to throw any trappings of a career away over an issue.
Soon after, the Brooklyn Academy of Music also supported Sarandon and Robbins with a special screening of Bull Durham. Despite her controversial opinions, Susan's professional momentum never slowed. In 2004, she appeared in 3 movies, including Shall We Dance as Richard Gere's wife, and as the ultimate cougar in Alfie with Jude Law. In 2005, she starred in multiple film and TV projects, including HBO's docudrama Bernard and Doris, about the real-life relationship between billionaire heiress Doris Duke, played by Susan, and her butler, played by Ralph Fiennes. In 2007, Susan appeared in mother roles 4 more times. In the Disney smash hit Enchanted, she played the evil stepmother queen Nerissa. The film became her biggest box office success to date. The next year, she had a supporting role in the live-action anime film Speed Racer. Between projects, Susan and Tim made personal appearances endorsing U.S. Democratic presidential candidate John Edwards. They were prominent supporters until Edwards' campaign self-destructed in 2008 with the revelation he had cheated on his wife. Tim and Susan ultimately threw their support behind Barack Obama.
I'm very pleased to be part of his life and to be part of his creative life.
In October 2008, Susan's longtime partner, Tim Robbins, finally received his star on the Hollywood Walk of Fame.
The love of my life, my inspiration. Susan, I love you.
She would say how she never rowed with him, how happy she was, and what a modern thinking man he was. All of these amazing compliments.
2008 found Susan hard at work on 3 more films, including The Greatest, with co-star Pierce Brosnan.
Susan is just one of those ladies who knows the course of life and has such a great heart about it.
At the start of 2009, Susan was 62. 2 of her children, Eva and Jack Henry, had already left home to start their own lives. Only her youngest, Miles, remained at home, finishing his last year of high school. Change was in the air.
There is an opportunity that she sees as a positive thing. She wants to keep on finding new things, new people, new relationships, new everything.
In March of 2009, Susan returned to the New York stage for the first time in over 25 years. Co-starring with fellow Oscar winner Geoffrey Rush and Lauren Ambrose, she appeared in Ionesco's absurdist comedy, Exit the King.
Exit the King is basically a meditation on death. Thinking about mortality does make you think, if I'm not going to change my life now, when am I?
During this period, in the summer of 2009, Susan and Tim Robbins quietly separated, unknown to the rest of the world. Meanwhile, professionally, she was appearing in 3 more films, playing an outrageous grandmother in The Lovely Bones, directed by Peter Jackson.
I think she wanted it to be the anti-granny, who was the sexiest grandmother you've ever seen.
Then co-starring with Michael Douglas in Wall Street 2, Money Never Sleeps. But the project close to her heart was You Don't Know Jack, an HBO biopic about right-to-death doctor Jack Kevorkian, starring Al Pacino as Kevorkian and Sarandon as his terminally ill friend, Janet Good.
When you have bad hair, everyone thinks you're acting up a storm.
The same year, Susan helped launch a very different venture, a ping-pong nightclub in New York's Flatiron District called Spin. Susan became one of 4 co-owners in the club, a magnet for celebrities, hard and soft-core table tennis players, and even children.
You don't have to be a millionaire to play it. You don't need equipment. You don't need training. You don't need an education. You just have to be present and very much keep your eye on the ball, which is something that she's always done.
Spin has since hosted pop-up venues in Los Angeles and Miami, and opened new clubs in Milwaukee, St. Petersburg, and Toronto, with plans for future international locations. But by the very end of 2009, Susan and Tim, after months of living apart, decided to go public about their separation. 23 years after it started, their relationship reached its end.
I think people were very upset when they broke up, because if a couple that good and that happy are not going to make it, who is?
Both refused to discuss the split. Susan also denied the rumors she was dating someone else, a young business partner in Spin.
Although there were rumors about Tim with other women, the rumors about Susan were the ones that really circulated fast and all seemed more likely.
As she approaches an age where most people contemplate retirement, Susan Sarandon is now running full steam away from it.
She said that she never wanted to give up. She wanted to be the oldest living actor that ever existed.
And she continues to reach out to young audiences with irreverent cameos in shows like 30 Rock with Judah Friedlander.
She has been prepared to take roles that perhaps with the wrong agent and the wrong advice she might have been asked to turn down.
She's challenging herself and others to redefine what a rewarding life is all about.
She's not going to settle for less of life. She's not going to settle for what a movie star is supposed to do, whatever that is.
I think that's the great thing about her. She's constantly evolving.
She carries with her such a life force that's really extraordinary.
She's magic on every level. I know this sounds outrageous because who could be like this, but she really is like that.
I love you back.